when the door opens again. This time it's the pretty-haired elf on her own. Arthur happily asks if her assimilation is wrapped up already. She's told to rest for a while, so Arthur wants to know if she experienced a pang of pain again from her previous experiences. Strangely, Tessia laughs. It's the fact that he narrowly escaped death, and yet he's here asking about her condition. Arthur chuckles in response. She remarks that it's no different from the time he saved her life from the bandits when they were young. The boy tries to move his body and experiences pain. Tessia grabs his shoulder and helps him assist. Arthur tells her that he's going to be all right, so she shouldn't be so worried. The elf understands that but insists on another apology. Arthur explains that there's still nothing she has to apologize for. Our boy misunderstood as Tessia's real intention was to lean in for a kiss, surprising him. In the following scene, we see the elf barely taking her stand outside his room. She seriously flared up all red, realizing that she actually kissed him just now. It was her first kiss ever, and she's puzzled with so many thoughts. The weird little elf looks at her reflection in the mirror, trying to mimic the kiss. Her head plummets in exhaustion as she falls to her knees, realizing that she might have overdone it. She took it a step further, and it's going to make things seem weird. She even contemplated returning to his room and acting like it was a prank. Tessia gathers her resolve and sorts herself out. She justifies her decision and understands that nothing would have come through if she let Arthur take the reins of their relationship. She also plays it like a boss girl, acting like it's going to be his loss if he rejects her. This girl lists out all of the brilliant things about her, such as her popularity, intellect, and talent as a mage. She's convincing herself that it's going to be his loss if anything. Saying those words with a hint of flailing belief, she turns to leave. Meanwhile, Arthur is out here fucking stunned. Bro is in a daze, still unable to comprehend what happened. Dude's battling the pedophilia allegations with his own sense of morality. He thinks he's going to go to jail for kissing a 13-year-old. Arthur reclaims his senses, claiming that he's a preteen himself right now, so it doesn't matter. There's the fact that many children in this world get married at this age, not to mention that she was the one who initiated the kiss. Dude remembers a second of the kiss and slaps the shit out of his own face. Arthur seriously tries to calm himself down in his young little body of raging hormones. He plops to the bed in defeat, questioning what his life has come to. Let's shift away from that and see how the school's holding up. Classes will resume in one day, and there's rumors of a new professor, and get this, they're a first-year student themselves. This mysterious student obtained the spot by defeating their own professor. On the other side, Arthur is being prepared to have his first day teaching at the academy. He doesn't have materials or anything special prepared, but he's planning to wing it anyway. More importantly, he's worried about Tessia's assimilation issue. He's been avoiding her like a blind man ever since the time she kissed him. Arthur learns that her assimilation is proceeding smoothly, but Virion has to return to Elenoir soon. Gideon breaks their conversation and wants them to focus on the main thing. The old lady is rather surprised he's beaming with joy to get the show on the road. She requested for a bunch of artifacts to help with Arthur's training, but knowing our mad genius smelly psychopath of an inventor, he's busted his balls for a hell of a lot more. The guy opens up the room, showcasing a paradise land and a metal robot. Arthur is more impressed by the room than by his artifact. They can sense mana fluctuations radiating about, which gives Gideon the chance to explain the thing he just built. His newest creation is called the Training Operator and Blast Inductor, a machine that can brutally withstand the brunt of spells from capable mages. He dubs this new creation as Toby for short, and its spec levels are set to 5, representing the strength of a dark orange core mana beast. Arthur's already getting intrigued to try out the artificat's durability, while Gideon explains that Toby has an incredible iron body that not even his spells can penetrate through. The inventor is shocked when Arthur unleashes his flaming fist and puts a hole in the thing with a single punch. Toby is dusted in a single attack, so Arthur recommends the inventor get to work in raising the artifact's level. As you can tell, Gideon's left speechless. Over to a different side, we see a bunch of adventurers raiding a dungeon with strange wraith skull monsters. Their color and size makes them concerningly strange. The leader, Lance Baron, questions if they're sure on the report that no other raiders have stepped foot inside the dungeon. Apparently the entrance in this place was shut off a long time ago. Baron stares at the cloth in his hand, recognizing the situation to be of an even greater importance now. Later that day, Arthur casts a whole different set of elemental affinities and spells against the prepared training artifacts. He uses melee combat to attack them as well, and counters them with his sword. The artifact is quite agile, but it's nothing he can't handle at this point. He beats both of them, snapping their tiny arms and wrecking them to shit. Even Elijah is feeling pity for the artifact. The inventor is really bothered to know if Arthur is even injured at this point, since he's a bit too strong. Arthur expresses that he's slow and sluggish with his movements in his fight. Gideon wants to hear about his feedback from this time around. Arthur recommends that he strengthen the joints of the artifacts. Also, he finds it problematic that they don't have any offensive capabilities when it comes to magic. Gideon mentions creating the artifacts for a regular augmenter, but he's found the kid to be the definition of the devil, so it can't be argued. Arthur suggests working on Toby's mana reinforcement mechanism. This comes as a surprise to both Gideon and Goodsky. He reasons that the artifact is issuing a layer of protective mana to defend itself. Despite a barrier being the fastest method for a mage's protection, it makes them vulnerable to same-sided attacks. Penetrating the shield makes it extremely vulnerable. Arthur thinks that instead of one shield of mana, it would be better for Toby to have a web of smaller plates of mana to protect itself. This way, the barrier will regenerate faster after breaking. This will in turn reduce the mana wastage from the artifact too. This explanation catches all three of them in a loop. Goodsky is seriously dying to know if Arthur has the ability to cast a mana barrier like the one he just mentioned. The boy nods in approval, which catches her attention. She thinks it's a better defensive maneuver than the one mages typically use. She dashes away to convey this idea to the Mages Guild for their input. The inventor Gideon draws a little too close to the boy and eyes his body down. He thinks he's found himself a golden nugget of information around. Elijah teases Arthur, reminding him that he's going to be late for his first class. Inside, Arthur walks around barely able to compose himself. The fact that he fought against two Tobys at level 7 in his current state is damning enough. Arthur's clumsy little cane slips and he goes on to grab Kathleen's shoulder in surprise. She helps him out by giving him assistance. Arthur sees her stoic expression and smiles. Class is in session and the students are all muttering about. They can't believe a first year will be the one to teach them. Some of them really want to see how a first-year student is going to teach and fumble as if he knows anything at all, while others are annoyed that they spent so much money for this academy only to get taught by a damn first-year student as their teacher. Arthur's trusty old self-proclaimed rival is hoping for the best for him, knowing he's in for a rough time. The professor enters the class, assisted by the beautiful Kathleen, sending all of the students in shock and amazement. They all think this is planned coming from their teacher, who's making a power play by using the assistance of the princess of the kingdom. But it's not like our boy was smart enough to plan for this. He thanks her and expresses that he's all right now. Kathleen goes away to take her seat, while Arthur finally takes his first stance before his class, introducing himself as a disciplinary committee member, the son of two mages, a loving brother, and finally their newest professor. As you can guess, the class erupts in anger and vitriol, discriminating against the first year who thinks he's too good to be their professor. They're provoked enough to file a complaint against the academy for wasting their time. Arthur stares at Sylvie, realizing that he's got to fix their attitudes. Everything would have proceeded smoothly if the headmaster came here to make an introduction on his behalf. One of the students jumps up to the big stage to arrogantly challenge their newest professor. Arthur questions what joke he's trying to pull. The class clown expresses that he's willing to take the position for himself by beating the instructor into the ground. The class roars for Lester in support, vouching him to beat his ass. In one simple and serious tone, Arthur demands Lester to sit back down. His mere command causes Lester to fall. Arthur makes it very clear to this class that he'll be taking over as the professor, even if they don't like it. He's happy for any of them to leave, and even prepared to help them to transfer to another class of their own choice. But for those who are curious how a seemingly crippled kid is currently the professor of the most prestigious academy, Arthur invites such souls to learn under his tutelage. With that settled, he tells Lester to either ditch the class or return to his seat. Dude bolts back, calling him sir and giving him the respect he deserves. The rest of the students are in a state of shock. Arthur's happy that none of them are leaving and resumes his first class. He mentions that this will be their first practical mana manipulation class, so he's interested in testing their knowledge. He quizzes them about the best way to utilize mana from the surrounding atmosphere. One girl raises her hand and answers that it's best utilized by naturally forming into the mana core, where techniques can further be formed. Arthur likes this answer and praises the student, before explaining the key difference between augmenters and conjurers. It's the usage of their mana channels. Conjurers utilize the mana from the surrounding atmosphere, channeling into their veins. This begs the question, why do both mages share the capacity to absorb mana when only augmenters can absorb it into their core? It spins the gears of the students as they all ponder and come up with a theory. Ponytail is given the chance to speak again. An excellent answer, explaining how conjurers never feel the need to aim for physical attacks. Arthur seconds the explanation. Conjurers are supposed to use their own mana and manipulate the changes in their surroundings. At the same time, if such conjurers used less mana than augmenters, then there's the question if a mage's mana core is truly a representation of their level. The students are all busy in thought because of this sharp critique. Arthur smiles and calls forth 6 volunteers with elemental affinities for a demonstration. He wants the conjurers standing to his left while augmenters to his right. The students line up as instructed. For the exercise, Arthur instructs the volunteers to cast the most basic spell they know. For conjurers, he doesn't want them to utilize a wand. Kathleen and the others quickly form the spell. Augmenters do the same. With all 6 mages having prepared their spells, Arthur instructs the augmenters to attack with their spell, while guiding the conjurers to absorb their own spells into their hands. It's a ridiculous idea from all 6 students, but their happy-go-lucky professor simply smiles in glee. As per his instructions, the augmenters try their best to release their fire spell, but it just doesn't work. As for the conjurers, they try to absorb the spell and make it a part of their body, but that doesn't work either. One side can't release while the other can't absorb. Even Kathleen is supremely struggling to do the job, but she's the closest of them all to get it right. The students are annoyed that he's teaching them a reckless lesson with nothing to learn. After all, only high-level augmenters are capable of casting long-distance spells. Arthur shuts them quiet by preparing a basic wind spell in his hand, before releasing it as a long-range projectile. The students criticize him for being a hotshot when this is pretty basic for an Orange Core user. Their professor confirms and decides to whip up the intensity by casting a vortex of wind that leaves a crater in the wall. Arthur questions if he's confident students have seen a display of power like that from an Orange Core too. He's unable to demonstrate his point properly, but it still proves what he's trying to teach them. He takes a seat and tells the volunteers to sit down if they want to learn how to do that. After the class wraps up, the students are all dazed and questioning his skill level. They think he cheated or something, but Arthur doesn't care and frees himself early. It's the only benefit to being a professor. Sylvie cutely tries catching a small butterfly and crashes to the ground in a hilarious fashion. Kathleen surprises the boy with her sudden entrance. Arthur tries to joke around saying he's busy with his invisible friend over here. The princess sits next to him, while he wonders what's up with her this time around. She praises him for teaching well on his first lesson. But after that comes an awkward moment of silence. Nothing more. Kathleen quickly jumps in his face before confessing that she's got something important to tell him. Arthur's praying to God that this chick doesn't end up traversing the same route as the elf Tessia. This might cause a serious war between the two kingdoms merely because of his existence. Instead, Kathleen lowers her head and offers the most respectful apology on the behalf of the royal family. She remembers what happened at the auction house and how her father behaved. She wants to apologize for the wrongs they've all committed. Arthur acts surprised that she's still mindful of the events that elapsed 4 years into the past. She tells him that her faith in her father plummeted that day. Arthur thinks that her apology is unnecessary, but Kathleen admits that it's necessary because of their friendship. Arthur, being the cheeky fellow, wonders if that's what they're like. The princess claims that casually embracing someone indicates a sign of friendliness, so she's right. Kathleen internalizes how she grew up being judged for everything she was until now. Yet this guy, who is arguably one of the greatest talents all around, yet always judged, is a goofy clown. She lets out a laugh which is unlike her. Arthur leans in to tease the ice princess. She turns her head away and talks about the merits of his lesson. The fact that 2 wind bullet spells could turn out to be so different. Arthur scoots away, realizing that she came here to pry for information. Kathleen attempts to clear her name in panic, but Arthur understands and gets up. He looks back at her and expresses that it would be unfair if he gave his best student a severe advantage. Saying those words, he walks away while she looks at him with a smile. Sylvie, the little brat, has caught her in the act and laughs in Kathleen's face. Skipping up ahead, we see Arthur chatting with a friend in Gideon's class. Gideon gets pissed and angrily whacks his chalk up in Watskin's hair, prompting a confusing look from everyone else. He wants Watskin to briefly explain information regarding the light-producing artifact. Girl here ends up giving him an essay of a speech because she's a nerd, and he only regretted that decision. After that meeting, Arthur's a little ticked that Gideon is on their asses with a project already. Interestingly, Watskin's got a bunch of LPAs or light-producing artifacts ready, and she's happy to provide for him. Arthur gets rizzed by her approach and treats her as a lifesaver, when in reality even Sylvie is trying to remind this fool to be more responsible. Elijah comes running towards them regarding a matter with the director. Arthur points to the glasses girl and introduces her as Emily. They both greet each other in kind. You guys remember when Arthur said this guy's girlfriend will also be a nerd? Yeah, it's happening. Elijah suddenly remembers what he came here for and instructs Arthur to get to the training room. He goes along quickly and finds Tessia meditating in peace. Sylvie happily embraces her while Tessia greets Arthur. The boy is confused since he doesn't spot the director around. Turns out Good Sky already left despite calling him here. Arthur now knows that this is a prank from the headmaster herself. Tessia turns her face in embarrassment and asks if they should get on their way with the assimilation process. The process can't be done alone, as it requires a lot of effort. Some mages of the same elemental affinity are required to tackle the beast's elemental affinity. Since Arthur's case was different, mastering 4 elements, he was able to easily help Tessia assimilate with her beast will. He acted as a mana battery and made sure she could fight against the Elderwood Guardian's core. The couple was exhausted by the end of the session, and I definitely don't mean what you perverted bastards are thinking. They want to call it a day when Tessia questions if he's still upset that she made a move on him. The boy's a little taken aback by her question and assures her that he didn't experience anger. The worried elf then asks why he's been avoiding her ever since the incident. Biting his lip in embarrassment, Arthur tries to play it cool and indirectly tries to disqualify himself from being her partner. But even Tessia understands that he's just making shitty excuses, as they have no need to get married in the first place. She understands that it was wrong of her to take advantage of his feelings, but she wanted things to progress in some way. Arthur teases her by claiming that they've progressed quite a bit already, as she's no longer the whiny princess he remembers her. Infuriated by his responses, Tessia gets up completely frustrated. The matter was important and delicate to her, but he kept treating it as a joke. She turns away disappointed while Arthur tries to call for her. Before leaving, Tessia issues a complaint. She knows he's good at everything he does, which is why he's so confident. But the only things he isn't confident about are his weaknesses. Tessia has seen through his facades and understands that he fakes his emotions. She's disappointed in the way he reacted just now, and argues that he's the one who is being immature, the same way he rejected Lilia. The conversation has taken a shift, and Arthur is out here experiencing it in real time. Dude realizes that he fumbled the baddie big time, but he's more concerned that Tessia was able to overhear their conversation. He wonders what kind of response she wants to hear, and he's forced into a position where he can't reveal his previous life. In the following training session with the magic artifact, Tessia's words reverberate and plague the boy's mind. The special shield has been implemented, but that's not the thing bothering Arthur. He's confidently taking on the artifact without any trouble.